Good afternoon, everyone. As it is very rightly said that a goal without a plan is simply just a wish. And by now, on your journey towards business plan competition, we are very sure that you must have got the hold of it. Business plans are like roadmaps. It is possible to travel without one, but it will only increase the likelihood of getting lost along the way. On your journey towards the business plan competition and to tell you the realities of business and its planning, we have a very special guest here with us today. Ms. Anjali Singh, Director and CEO, Wildberries Resort Private Limited, is here to share her journey and experience with all of you. That will surely help you understand few very critical elements about the world of business and entrepreneurship. I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Ms. Anjali Singh to you all. Dear students, Ms. Anjali is a professional with over 22 years of experience in diverse areas like wildlife hospitality, tourism, teaching, training, and auditing. Ms. Anjali, after finishing her bachelor's degree in management, went on to pursue and finish her MBA degree in finance and marketing. She is also a UGC net qualified person, and she has been associated with few premier management institutes of Madhya Pradesh in teaching and training capacity. She has also been associated with Bharti Airtel for some time, where she was holding the position of executive finance and accounts at their head office at Bhopal. Following her passion of creating and delivering quality services, Ms. Anjali started Bhopal's first finishing school, Elegance and Grace Finishing School, which was primarily set up with the objective of training and empowering young women and children. In the year 2010, Ms. Anjali co-founded Wildberries Resort Private Limited, a company dedicated towards setting up properties catering to the areas of wildlife, tourism, and hospitality. From having a turnover of 5 lakh rupees in the financial year 2014-15, Ms. Anjali, with her work ethics, have now managed to take it to a whole new level where in the financial year 2019-20, Wildberries Resort Private Limited turnover was reported at 1.85 crore rupees. Ms. Anjali has been awarded by the Madhya Pradesh government the Gaurav Award by none other than the Honorable Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh for outstanding contribution in the area of women entrepreneurship and also wildlife tourism in the state of Madhya Pradesh for the years 2018 and 19. On behalf of IPA, I welcome you, ma'am, on this particular e-platform. This session
Thank
is
you.
all yours. And all the students, you are please requested that whatever you have any sort of query that you should post on the chat box and I will deliver those questions to ma'am. Ma'am, the session is all yours, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me over for this discussion. And first of all, I'm really happy to know that we are working towards an educational environment where we are having an academic exposure, and also institutes are also inviting people over for giving an insight into the reality. Because when I was studying my graduation and in my post graduation, I observed that the theories that we study in management are very relevant though, but working in Indian environment is slightly different than when we study a global perspective, or when we study the management concepts of Western countries, or the developed countries. So India being still in the third world country and among the developing nation, we kind of fall, we face challenges which are slightly different than the academic knowledge that we gather from these textbooks. Though it's not really too far away, but I'm really impressed and pleased to know that institutes like IPR, which is a prestigious institute of Bhopal and Madhya Pradesh, is taking this step forward where students are getting exposure from like real examples and the environment around them. So this is a very good step here. As I was told that the whole discussion is going to be about making a business plan And I would say that this is probably some kind of telepathic kind of, connect that we are having here, because right now, after having two very good ventures that we are operating at the moment, we are going to start our third venture very soon. So we are in the process of doing all those works, all those, uh, those processes, going through all the processes of making a business plan again. Yes, again. So, as Sir has already spoken about, our venture is called Wildberries Resorts Private Limited. This company started as a proprietorship firm, and soon we had more people coming into it, and we formed a company, because working in India, we realized that there are more opportunities and there is a good environment to grow for a company. And there are certain limitations for a proprietorship firms. As you would study, I believe you are students of first semester right now, so you will be studying about types of organizations. That would be among the first chapters you would have here. So, starting with the forms of organization, that I mean, you would know about it. But I would say that proprietorship firm had its own limitation, and we formed it into a company. And there had been a constant endeavor, there had been a constant pursuit towards expansion, growth, and evolution. That is the key thing when we'll have to work upon. So, Wildberries Resorts Private Limited started as an organization where we started working in hospitality at a remote area close to Bhopal. But location was a very critical point in this, where we are located in between, somewhere like between Bhopal and Indore. So we had that opportunity of catering to both the big cities of Madhya Pradesh, and we grew really fast. As Sir has also mentioned, our turnover here from 5 lakhs to 2 crores, now touching 2 crores here, touchwood. And it's still in the expansion mode. So we are hopeful that by end of this year, we may take it further and we'll have one more venture ready with us. So this is how we had, grown into it. The journey, I would say, uh, there had been 5 very critical things about the business plan, I would say. Since we started with a very niche kind of uh, setup, that is a jungle lodge. Hospitality industry appears a very glamorous kind of industry for most of the people, and because the services that we offer in hospitality are often very pleasing, and it appeals to a large mass, so it appears very glamorous. But behind the scenes, or I would say the backstage, is as strenuous or challenging as any other industry would be. So, and that too, when we started as a jungle lodge, we started with Rata Pani Jungle Lodge, and it was a very niche concept, in the sense that we tried to cater to a very unique kind of population which was interested in jungle lodges, nature, away from the town, not into luxury as hospitality is looked at. Generally, hospitality is looked at as luxury. So, when developing a product, here, when we talk about a business plan, you must know that the key thing of the entire setup, entire business plan, is your product. And product is created through that idea of, that is your idea of that product. Okay, so when jungle lodge is a very universal concept, it is there everywhere in the world. Like, all, there are several jungle lodges. But when we started a jungle lodge close to Bhopal, we had our own perception about it. Now, this is what is the key of any business plan. I'm sharing this with you because I was told that you people are making business plans for different products. So, product can be anything. Like, product can be a glass, a pen, or a pencil, or a paper, or any random thing that you can pick. But it is your perception how you want your product to be. That makes it unique. So here we picked up a very universal thing. Jungle Lodge in itself is not a very unique thing, but how we made it kind of our business plan, right? That will make it your business plan. So now that involves, what does that involve? I believe you would be undergoing an exercise of making a business plan. Uh, in that you have heard about a thing called executive summary. Executive summary is the first part of a business plan. Okay, why do we have that as the first plan of a first point of a business plan? Because that dictates all the other things. Executive summary is your perception of your product, and that is the key, and that is the key of the business. That is the soul of the business, how you perceive your product. Okay, now there can be a car, all right, or there can be anything, like there can be a pen. But when Mont Blanc makes a pen, they have a perception. The perception of a Mont Blanc pen is different than a pen by Lexer or any other company, Renault or whatever but company. So when I say Ratapani Jungle Lodge, Ratapani Jungle Lodge is my perception of a jungle lodge, of our perception, our team's perception of a jungle lodge. That is my executive summary here. So understanding the concept of executive summary is your perception of your product. That is the key or the soul of a business plan. Now, coming to the next very critical point, that is investment, that is the capital. When we have a product in mind, like we chose a jungle lodge, that was our product. Then we created our perception that how we see a jungle lodge is the executive summary. That is how we want to make a jungle lodge. Now that was very impressive to us, obviously. Everybody's idea is very impressive to themselves. But this has to sell to others. And why it has to sell to others? Because there is a critical part that is called finance. That is the fuel. That is the fuel of any business. Unless and until you have the fuel to make it go, there is no takeoff. There is an idea, there is a brilliant idea, but there is no execution of it. So that has to come. Now, how does that come? There are two parts of, I believe you would have studied about capital budgeting, or maybe you will study in due course if you take up, I mean, in general management also you will have to study that. That is capital management. That is the base part of the finance part of a business, all right? And you must not skip that part. Why? Because it is the most crucial, it's the most crucial part of setting up a business, right? So why is it important? There are two parts to it. One is the fixed investment part, and another part is the working capital or the operational part. A lot of times we have heard that businesses could not sustain. They had the brilliant product, they had a good summary or perception of their product, they had everything, but somehow they could not sustain over a period of time. What happens? People put in a lot of money, that is in fixed capital, that they put a lot of money. But at the same time, you have to keep aside a whole lot of money for working capital and operations. So I believe when you are doing a calculation of how you will make the project go, you will have to keep in mind the fixed part of it. That is generally being financed or looked at generally. But there is a whole lot of part which is like operating part, and which is also the working capital part. A lot of times that gets ignored. A lot of people start the business. I'm just focusing on the parts which textbook do not really talk about much, but they come as crucial part when we are working on any project. So we have seen that working capital and operating costs are equally important as fixed investments. So when we are making a plan, we need to work on both the things. Now there's one more very interesting, I mean, you would study all this in due course, but how how we do it, like when we work on a project, we work on three very critical things that is written in all your books also. That is like you may recall it, that we work on when we work on investments, we can have three modes here. Either we can have our own savings, or we can have loans from institutions, or we can have investors. Now, investors are basically if you are willing to give equity or you are willing to have partnerships here. So these three modes are very conveniently available. If like savings are, of course, I mean, how much you want to put in your money. Basically, my idea of doing a business is not with your money, but being able to sell your product in a way where people are willing to invest into your product. That is my idea of creating a business plan or creating a brand. That is my idea of doing things. Now, when we do that, there are three very critical parts to it that we need to keep in consideration. That is your rate of return and your net present value and also your payback time. These are very critical things. I'm so sorry, I'm a person of finance. So most of my focus when we work is generally on finance because that keeps the wheels going. So when we talk about a business plan, we need to focus mostly on finance. And then when the wheel starts moving, then you have to go on to other work areas. Now, what are the other work areas that we have worked upon? I would say that we worked upon a marketing strategy. Now, creating a product is an idea. How do you do that? How do you create a product? If you start from the like, it has to start, or the idea should germinate from the need. I mean, I'm just talking very simple here. It's the base of it, but need is absolutely required to create a product. All right. When we started Ratapani Jungle Lodge, we often notice that the weather in Bhopal is absolutely divine during monsoons and winters. But every time we thought that where should we go for an outing, which is nearby, and we could just spend an evening or a night maybe and come back the next day or a weekend over there and have time away from the town and have a comfortable stay also. We themselves, like we kind of required it ourselves. And then slowly we observed that there are a lot of people who constantly looked for such avenues, such places where they could go and spend their weekends and come back the next morning. And which is so convenient that they should come back and go to their offices the next morning. So this is the need that we kind of saw, and we developed the product. Developing the product is one part, then selling it for getting the investment is second part. Now there is very important and critical part. Your product may be absolutely wonderful, like it's like 10 on 10 on all aspects, and you could really sell it to the investors and you get good investments also. That is also possible. And in spite of that, it may not run. It may not run. So what this part which I'm going to talk about, that is called marketing, is the crucial part in sustaining, in carrying on. The fuel was the finance, but once the wheel starts rotating, once the operation starts happening, then it's the role of marketing. How you keep going on about it. Now there is a very interesting time that we live in, that all of us live in the era of this social media and a lot of data being available on several platforms. And this is a absolute, like, it's a new stream of marketing that is opening up. And you would be aware of terms like search engine optimization and data analysis on Facebook and Instagram and other social medias, etc. So these are very relevant here, very relevant here. Now that we have a connect to the population through social media or through you can say internet, things become it may appear like they have become very easy, like we are just sitting in front of a screen and we are just working on it. But at the same time, it becomes very challenging also, because earlier we had several modes of letting people know about our presence, but now we are restricted about giving the knowledge of our presence through only screen now. Okay, so this becomes very challenging. Like we have, if I would say that we selected a population to which we wanted to cater to. That was a market which was wanting to go to a nature-oriented place on a holiday, enjoy luxury and hospitality, and it should not be too far away. Also, there was a mix of of needs that we kind of understood of the people. Now getting to that client is easier, because now you would know that social media provides you the analysis of which kind of population you want to reach out to. You can reach out to, but now that it is so accessible also, that when we are advertising, there are at least 100 companies which are advertising along with you. So the competition becomes very tough. It is stiff. Like, I mean, it's enormous. Earlier, you could have gained mileage about being in a particular location, investing more funds to it, and doing extra things to gain extra mileage. But now it is such a level field. Like everyone has the access to it, that it becomes very crowded. The social media marketing is the key now, I would say, because we are in service industry. So we know we kind of rely, at least you can say at least 70% on this particular mode of marketing. And I would say that you are all familiar with the usage of social media. It so happens that uh, it is difficult to capture the attention of the client. It is very difficult to capture the attention of the client. There is one very interesting concept that we used to study. It used to be there earlier also, and it becomes even more relevant in today's time. That is called marketing funnel. Actually, it is. We just read it in the MBA and some programs where it's called sales funnel actually, where you need to visualize about the client, about the prospective client, where in the hierarchy of selecting your product, where do they stand. So that becomes very useful in today's times, where we are completely relying on social media marketing. That becomes very, very relevant. So that is like, and in spite of continuously bombarding with our promotions on social media marketing, we find that the conversions are not that many, I would say. Because why that happens is because there are too many competitors on the same platform. So it becomes very challenging for everyone. Now, this was about because we are in service industry, and there would be constant, entrants into the industry we work in, and we constantly face that. It so happens that if I would say that we have been able to reach 100% of our population, like we chose the cities, and we chose the income groups, we chose the client with the preferences of going to a jungle lodge or to a place like Pachmadi, like we have another property at Pachmadi. So we chose that client, and we kind of had put our ads on social media. If say we have reached the client and there had been 100% population cover. Now, of the 100% population cover to which we bombarded our ads, only 50% people click on the ads. That is like, in spite of having a very attractive ad, the time or the attention that we get on social media is very less. Anyone, it is for everyone. I mean, not just us. I would say that is the current status with all the industries and all the companies. And of that 50%, only 1 to 2% are conversions. That is generally the trend. So you can understand the amount of work that one needs to put in to get a client as a converted client. This is the amount of work that needs to be put in. In today's time, when we say that marketing has become easier, it is, I don't know why we say that, but generally it is understood that since we are just doing the marketing on screen, so it has become easier. But I would say that it has become more challenging because the conversion rate from the population that we have given exposure to the conversion is very less. The conversion rate has become less now. So it has become very challenging. But nevertheless, I mean, you have to put in more efforts to get more clients. So we carry on with that. And once we have attained that, now there is one very important concept that we need to understand when we are making a business plan, when we are visualizing, because visualizing is the key of how you operate, how you go into it, and then how you start rolling it. So you have to understand the mindset of your client. That is again a key factor in when you do the marketing of products. So you need to understand the mindset of your and you need to understand where does he stand. Like there are several levels where a client is before he makes a purchase or before he kind of becomes your client. So when you have bombarded with the ads on social media, maybe you have just disseminated the awareness, then probably they may get they will start considering about your product. And then slowly when you bombard with more information, more appealing things on the net, then maybe they will start developing the preferences. Then maybe they will start to go, I mean, they will go for a purchase. But purchase is not the end, I would say. We have worked on at Wildberries Resorts Private Limited, it's a motto that purchase is not the end of our work here. We work mostly to go to the next level where we say that we want people to go to a loyalty level. And that is not it again. Loyalty is the next level from purchase, where what we seek. And beyond that is when we say that from loyalty, if people start advocating about us, that is what we work upon. And I would say so far, it has really helped in growing. We have seen enormous growth in last 2 3 years only. Before that, I mean, it just happens that it's like a wheel, it's a cycle. When you start, it's the maximum push you have to give it to. So in the beginning, it is generally very tough, and there would be several occasions when you will feel that probably it is not taking off, probably we'll not be able to sustain it. But it is very, very systematic and structured at the same time. If you focus on the key elements of sustainability and survival, there is no way you're going to fail. That those things may not be like, you won't find that stuff in your theoretical books. How do you do that? That is not written in most of the books. But the key is to always have that mode on of survival and sustainability. If you carry on with that till you have crossed the gestation period, I believe you are aware of the term gestation period. It's that time when you have you have reached a level of a break even and you're not in any kind of losses. So that is a very critical time in any business. Making a business plan and coming to crossing your gestation period, that is the key element. Like you, if you have learned how to survive and how to sustain, that will bring you to the point of clearing your gestation period, and then it will start rolling. So, and this is the maximum push. It is, I mean, I would say that this is so challenging that when you know very little about it, then you are supposed to know the most. That is I mean, a very ironic part of it, that when you start, you are supposed to push the maximum, you have to sustain the maximum, you have to work the hardest, and then it will slowly start rolling, and the pieces will start falling into place. So that is the sustainability and the survival part. Now, I can entertain some questions here if you have any, and we can focus around that if you wish to have any questions.
Manpreet, you had a particular question?
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
हाँ जी, good afternoon.
My question is, ma'am, what are the factors that are important other than the business plan that needs to be kept in mind while presenting the business plan? Like I am looking for funds. You are the fund provider. I'm
Okay.
presenting you the plan. Uh, Apart from the business plan, what are the other factors that I should keep in my mind while presenting you the plan to raise funds from you?
First and foremost thing is the conviction, uh, the surety in your mind. You have to sell your business plan to yourself first. You are going to be the first client of your own business plan. Are you going to invest into your business plan? Right? If it was your hard-earned money and the amount of money you want others to invest into your project, and if somebody had come with this concept to you, would you be interested in investing in that kind of plan? That is the first part of it. You should be totally convinced about your plan first. That is the starting point, in fact. I remember the time when we started working at Ratapani, and it is in the middle of nowhere. And we started at a place where we had no electricity and there was no road connect. Now, from Bhopal, it is 30 kilometers away, and we were not on grid. So still the network is not there. The telephone network is not there, and we have our own arrangements of connecting you with internet over there. So when we started over there, we knew that everything it is like adverse to how we wanted it to be. We had no infrastructure, environment was harsh, it was never seen as a tourist destination, and everything was not in accordance with our plan. So the first and foremost thing was to convince ourselves whether we would be investing into such kind of project, and we were convinced. I would say from day one, we were totally convinced about the product that we had and about the whole business plan, that why people would come here, why I would go there as a client, why I would go there. We knew it. So, first person to convince is you. After you have convinced yourself, that is how you are going to convince everyone. It is, I would say, I don't know who's the writer of it, but the entire thing is the art of negotiation. You need to know how you are going to convince uh, about your perception to others. That comes next, but first you will have to be convinced about it yourself. So I believe I have answered that to you, that it is basically the conviction that you need to have. And you know what, you don't need it just for the beginning years, but you may need it forever. I mean, if you do not have faith in your own product, if in your own business plan, you can't carry on. It is very easy to break down, it is very easy to give up, but to carry on, you need to have that conviction 100%. And it has to come out from you. It can't be done from outside. There can't be an environment to give you that. So that I guess I have answered to it. That you, apart from the finances, apart from the project reports and the business plan, the first and foremost thing is your conviction into your faith into your plan. That is necessary. That will take it forward.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Ma'am, can we take one more question right now?
No, of course, please.
Yeah. Akash, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, my question is, if we are entering in the market, which is raw, which is unorganized, and there is no such market giant to compete with, so how can we set our marks? How can we take targets, and how can we assume to create a business plan? Like, what will be our marks on which we can rely? If there is no statistics, there is no data to set on, ma'am.
Mr. Akash, that's a lovely question. I would, because this is exactly how it happened with us.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
We do
ma'am.
not have any predecessors. I mean, we had nothing, no precedents of of any organization working in the area where we are working now, and we did not have any kind of data over here. And I would say it is very challenging. Yes, it is difficult because we are being taught to gather most of our market research and gather most of our data from the works of other organizations or history from surveys, etc. But at the same time, you need to have your own observations. That is important. Now, in observations, when we started here, I would say that it would require connecting to right kind of people. I believe there's a term, market research. You would study that term to have connect with a focus group that is there in market research. So you need to have a connect with right kind of people and gather more information from them, right? They may not be directly linked with your industry, directly linked with your product, but you need to derive information from these people. Like in our case, when we started as a jungle lodge near Bhopal, in an area where there was no tourism, there was no wildlife, hospitality unit, nothing happening in that area. We started gathering more information about a prospect of a business. We started gathering information about a probable business over here by connecting to people from different fields. Like we gathered some information from tourism people, we gathered some information from hospitality industry, we gathered information from catering industry, we also gathered information from agents, travel agents. Now, they did not work in this field, they were not present in this area, but all these were somewhere connected with it remotely. They were not directly connected to our product, they were not directly connected to our location, but they had some idea of it. So this is a task, this is a challenge where you kind of gather information from these variety of agencies, and then you have to do your own analysis of it, right? Like in Pachmadi, when we work in Pachmadi, Pachmadi is a hill station, you would know, and it has a market which is very different. It is on the national map. It is different from our previous venture. It is different from our Ratapani jungle lodge, and it is a hill station property. It's like a heritage kind of property. We are catering to a national market. It's very different. Now we know that if we want to take it to a higher, upgrade the whole thing and to a different level of working, we need to understand why, how it works, how the environment works. There were no big players there. MP Tourism works over there, but they do not have much of data to share. So what we did, in fact, 2 years back when we invested into it and when we made this property over there, we gathered information from several agencies, and then we did an analysis of it. And then around it, we formed our product. Product is our hospitality unit, of course, but how we position it, what client we are going to serve over there, how we project ourselves, everything about it, and whom are we going to target, that is built by gathering information from a lot of agencies, which we kind of analyzed ourselves and then worked upon. It is not ready-made. Mr. Akash, I would say that in reality, you need to have, the customization has to happen with you. You have to work on customization. Yes. Nothing is ready-made. So you have to just, it is like an unstitched suit. It's just the material available. So you have to get the fabric from somewhere, thread from somewhere, get a tailor from somewhere, then the buttons, and then you kind of stitch it and then wear it. So and then it fits you. So you don't get, like, what we study in books is that you gather the data by survey, by interview, by, there is a textbook format that you can get, and then precedence hai, like you have several big organizations who have worked in this field and you can get their information. But that is not applicable to you because every product is unique. Like in our case, I would say every location is unique, every property is unique when we work. So it doesn't fit into it. We have to customize it. So there we have to apply our analysis to it. I believe I have answered your question, Mr. Akash, if you want to
Yes,
go
ma'am.
further.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah, right. Thank you.
Yes, Anshika, please go ahead.
Ma'am, I would like to know that in reality, it is very different to approach investors. So, how was it difficult for you to get the investor to invest in your business? And what idea did you convey to them that they are ready to invest in your business? No, I like this idea. What was that magic factor that we can introduce? Like, what we should think in that way that how we can attract the investor towards our business? Could you highlight this section, ma'am?
Yeah. Anshika, that was a wonderful question. And I can really, this is a part which makes me really proud of, when we work in Wildberries Resorts Private Limited. We are very proud of this fact that once we started working and things started rolling, we did not have to work towards going to the investors. And it so happened that investors came to us. So and there are a lot of people, the big businessmen, and even like Jack Ma and others, they say that you are not lucky. You are not lucky that way. You make yourself lucky, right? So I think we believe in that concept here. We believe in that philosophy here, that it is not the luck that kind of when we started rolling and investors came to us that they wanted to invest into our work. It's not because it's not luck that they came to us. It is sheer hard work, I would say, and it is being very transparent, very organized, very structured. These are the key elements. Anshika, I think I can put your mind to it that investment is not just the finance part of the business. Investment is the philosophy of the business. How we do the business is what attracts investors to our work. I hope I'm clear, like getting through with this, that it is not just giving the returns, that what we spoke about, like budgeting and giving the rate of returns and net present value, etc. All those things are very critical. I mean, very, very essential. You can't ignore those at all, at no cost. Wo to, like, they're the base. They're the base. But what you need to work upon is the philosophy of an organization. Now, what is the philosophy of an organization that we work in? I would say we could attract the attention of investors by being very structured, and there had been sheer hard work of a team. These aspects, I would say, need not be projected, need not be spoken about, but are very much visible for anybody. We had, I would say that we are very proud to say that looking at our balance sheet, looking at our struggles also, it is not that it was always very positive throughout. There had been ups and downs, there had been a lot of investments. You have to save a bit, then invest again, then save a bit, and then evolve. Like we started with 3 rooms, then we expanded to 12 rooms, then we made 23 rooms at one property. Then we added a boat club over there. We added 8 boats over there. Then we had our own private boat club. Then we added one more property. So it gradually grew. But in this process, we maintained a philosophy of transparency, being structured, and being very dedicated and focused towards our evolution. We are just working on how we evolve, how we upgrade, and it has to be a constant. This has to be a constant process. We did not because I want to present this case to you and get an investment of 5 crores or 6 crores from particular investor, that I need to do this. No, this cannot be the way. This is not the process. The process is you carry on doing with your work, and you will have the investors coming and pouring into your work. That is the way. That is how it goes. So when I say that you have to be convinced about your work, the conviction part, the how you see your business yourself is the key. How they will see your business. So when you have it's structured in a particular format, then you are able to translate or give it to other people. You don't have to give it to also. I believe, Anshika, I have like kind of got you there, like how I wanted it. Like you don't have to go to the investors. The investors come to the philosophy of an organization. And many a times it is not merely about the finances. Finance is a critical part of it, but it is not just the finances. It is more about the philosophy of an organization. And what do I call a philosophy of an organization? We call when it is transparent, when it is structured, and when there is sheer hard work towards evolving. That is a constant process. I mean, you cannot just have, a medium level of growth or stagnation. No, it cannot. That won't call or invite investor. That is a waste of time if an organization has to go to investor. Nobody's coming. I can tell you that. If you have to go to investors, then nobody is coming. Your philosophy, your work should be such that investors should come to you. That is the way, at least we see it. I think I got the answer across. Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
right.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Sonal, you wanted to ask something, I believe.
Yes, sir. Ma'am, I want to know that you talk about investors and all. I want to know about that how commitment is much more useful in our business and what you do in your business, some sort of commitments. I want to know about it, ma'am.
Yeah, Sonal, that is a very, very interesting and very important question. The commitment word here is something that goes beyond 100%.
Yes,
in
ma'am.
in a work like this, where you are the boss, some people may think that since you are the boss, you may choose. Okay, but the irony is, the difficult or the challenging part is that there is no choice. It's the commitment is more than 100%. So when you're working for an organization, there are time limits, you have off time, you have off days, you have your rights, etc., etc. And you are at liberty. I mean, there are a lot of things in your favor. But when you're working for yourself, you are your own boss. When you are working with people's faith in you, they invested in your philosophy, they invested in your product, and they have put money on you. It's kind of a bet that they have made on you. All right. So it is so enormous, it is so huge that the commitment cannot be less than 100%. Cannot be, just cannot be. So what does it mean when the commitment is more than 100%? The commitment is more than 100% means there is no date, there is no night. There can be occasions where you have to forgo, uh, other family commitments or social commitments, etc. Because this becomes the primary commitment to you for at least the time when you can put either you can delegate, some of the work, or you can have such a system that is so structured that things cannot go wrong. And we kind of strive for that. We work on a philosophy that we make things so structured that either it is person X or person Y or person Z on a seat, it does not matter. The deliverance, the product that we want to deliver would come out the same. So we make it very structured, and then that is how we can minimize the drawbacks or the shortfalls or failures. That is how we minimize. So when we talk about commitment, it is more than 100%, and it kind of gets into your other areas like social commitment, your family commitment, etc. And with me, I would say it is kind of the balancing becomes, it does not happen much. I would say there is nothing called work-life balance. It is not there. But fortunately, I'm very fortunate that my team is becoming very, very structured now, and we have been able to attain that. And my life partner is my partner in work, and so we can kind of jointly do things together and would not miss out on family time and stuff. So that goes on. So it is not if it was like a separate industry for me and a separate industry for him, and an industry where we could not entertain our family together, so that would have been a very tough call. Yes, it is tough. It is tough when you are an entrepreneur, you're your own boss. It is tough. It is very tough. Yeah. Yeah, Sonal, I think I'm done with that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Anyone else with any particular question? Okay. I believe, ma'am, they are done with the questions. Ma'am, just adding on to the extension of what Akash have asked you actually.
Yeah.
During these times, they are not, not too much able to meet in physical with some particular person to know more about a particular industry, because not many are very much reluctant to tell a lot over phone or over Google Meet or something. So, how can they search about it, and what should be their mind approach while deciding something? Let's say, for example, they are planning to launch a new soap. So what should they keep in mind while deciding that how to give that X factor to that particular soap? What should be the way, or what should be the approach?
Actually, that's a product basically, and we are basically into service industry. So it would not be very justified on my end to be telling about product manufacturing, because I do not have much of exposure on that. But by and large, I can say that it is when we came up with the product development, it is more of internal analysis. Like we had to analyze our own concepts more than gather information from outside. Now, this may sound very theoretical in a way, but honestly, I would tell you that when you are forming a product, at least in service industry like we have in hospitality, we need to understand our concept about the product. It is a tough time for everyone that you are not able to visit the industries, you're not able to visit the factories, or even real work environments to see how real people work in work areas. It is becoming very difficult for all of you right now, I can totally imagine. But the process of making a product does not start from seeing other people developing their products, but it starts from your own analysis of any product. And that may require probably a little bit of knowledge or gathering information from, in fact, it is available on internet and books, etc. But most part is you. That is your, your idea, your brain, your perception about it. So when you're forming a product, you can say 50% part would be the product, that is theoretical product that we say in the base form. But rest of the 50% part is basically you, the person who forms it. Like when we talk about a car by Tata, when we talk about a car by Mercedes or by a Tesla, or when we talk about it, then 50% is a car which we talk about, but the rest of 50% is a concept, is a philosophy that that company has, or the people behind it. We know some names. So that part is the deciding part, in fact. I
Got
would
it,
say
ma'am.
that,
Got it.
yeah, the deciding part that separates one product from other, like one specific brand from other, is the 50% part of that unique part that is you or that company, which separates you from other brands. So, and that is internal. So that is available to you all the time. Even when the exposure is not available, when other organizations are closed, or you don't have the exposure to that. But the good part is that the exposure to yourself, your own perception, your own analysis, it's always there with you, and that is the deciding part. So I would say that we work on that. I mean, there can be philosophies separate to these, but we work on that 50% more, because product part is generally available. Generally, matlab, like you can see it on net, on studying about other organizations and stuff. But this 50%, which is us, it is always available to us, and it is constantly evolving. That has to constantly evolve with, your like yesterday, if they said that Tesla would be making a car with solar power and stuff, then they came up with the electric thing. Probably tomorrow they will come with a new chemical thing that it is so this thing that you don't even need electricity for that. You may need some little, so that is constant evolution. The car part is the same, but this part, that is research into making alternatives to the fossil fuel, the alternatives to providing a car with minimal, degradation of environment, with the environment friendly setup, everything. So this part is you, and that is available to you all the time, all the time.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I believe great companies are built on this philosophy only, because we can now correlate it with anything. Thank you so much, ma'am. May I please request Dr. Arjun Murthy, sir, for the vote of thanks, please, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for your stimulating and inspiring thoughts on much needed contemplation on preparation of effective business plan and covering a broad spectrum and its finer aspects in simple and comprehensive manner. It's an unforgettable treat for the students to hear from you on this topic. It was indeed a power-packed and immersive learning session for all of us here. I, on behalf of the entire IPA family, convey deep regards and hearty thanks to Ms. Anjali Singh, Madam, for gracing IPA's e-lecture series initiative 2021 and sharing with us her rich experience and knowledge to match the best in the world. It's a memorable day for IPArians. Students and faculties would cherish this forever. We assure you, ma'am, to continue to work in the direction of creating knowledgeable managers and worthy citizens for the society. We are also thankful to our college management, Chaitanya Shiksha Samiti, the parent body of IPA, Group Director, Dr. Amarjit Singh Khalsa sir, Dr. Vaibhav Lavlekar sir, Chairman MBA Program, Dr. Harsh Sharma sir, Chairman Career Center, and Dr. Mahesh Soni sir, Chairman Corporate Communications, for organizing such wonderful initiatives. Thanks one and all. Have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much for having me over. It was lovely talking to you all. Thank you.